Okay, hello everybody. My name is Lita Abella and welcome to my show, What's Your Story in the New Normal? I'm an entrepreneur, health and wellness consultant, public speaker, licensed private investigator, and former LAPD lieutenant. And between all that, I went to law school and obtained my JD. I tell stories that inform, inspire, and influence others. So I have a special guest today. Her name is Nicki Guarini. And she is a life coach. And I've heard the term life coach. I've seen it on the internet, on social media. I personally have never talked to anyone who's a life coach. I don't know anything about somebody who does this for a living. And so I thought this would be a very interesting topic to discuss because right now people are in such a situation, especially these last couple of months, where people are extremely stressed out and they're suffering from anxiety, depression, and stress and so forth. So I figured this might be somebody who people need to reach out to. But first I want to know, what is a life coach? But let's first get to know Nicki. So Nicki, just tell us a little bit about your personal life.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here. And you have so many different talents and trades. I admire it. It's awesome. So a little bit about me. Well, I recently just got married, and it was mid-April that we decided to, it was originally planned prior to this pandemic. And we had to decide whether or not we wanted to go through with it with nobody attending. And we decided to go for it. And so that's been an interesting, can you still hear me okay with the dogs barking? This is part of the pandemic. Everything is just, Michael has our office. And so I'm out in the living room. So, so yeah, we decided to, that it was really, not about the professional photographer and the big party, but it was just about our love and being able to be moving forward in some way felt really good. And not having to stall our lives because so much was out of our control. So it was with mixed emotions, but we went for it. And everybody keeps saying you have a great story to tell, and I'm starting to feel that way. But we were really just stripped of, I didn't get hair and makeup done, and didn't have my family surrounded by me, and so there was a lot of things that I had thought that I would have, and it was simple and beautiful, and it apparently just cheered a lot of people up, and we posted pictures and people said thank you so much, you gave us hope, and we were like, okay, cool, that's awesome.
Is this your first marriage?
No, I'm divorced, so second
Second marriage, okay. And do you have any children?
No, not yet.
Okay, well, congratulations as a newlywed.
Thank
Being
you.
married, that's wonderful. And yes, during this very challenging times, I'm sure it was a lot of mixed emotions, just like you said, about having this ceremony that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. But it's going to be a very interesting one that nobody else can probably say that they went through. So
Yeah, we should
it'll be special.
start a little group of COVID marriages, like a Facebook group or something, where we can all just share our experiences and talk, and even just babies being born during this time. I had a couple of friends that are due or have had babies. It is a unique experience to go through a big life change
Yes.
during
Yes.
this time. But
so I want to get to know, you're the first person I've ever talked to that in person, that's virtually in person, I should say, that's a life coach. So what exactly is the role of a life coach?
a life coach is different than a therapist or a consultant. And I'm just going to start there to define what it's not, and then I'll go into what it is. So therapy is a licensed therapist with the intention to focus on the past, to diagnose or heal. And it may be trauma that was had, or it just may be some needed healing that needs to be had. Whereas consulting is a subject matter expert that comes in to fix something or provide a solution, and then they leave an organization or a person after providing their advice. Whereas a coach is somebody that partners with you and applies deep level listening and a non-judgmental environment, asks powerful questions, holds you accountable, and focuses on your present into your future. So yes, we know that there was stuff in your past, and yes, you've connected all the dots possibly in therapy. And now what, right? Like, it's like a personal trainer for your mindset. It's all about mindset and about managing emotions and managing ourselves and the stories we create about what's possible and what is not possible. And that's the area I work in.
That's a really interesting way to describe it, a personal trainer for your mindset, because I come from the fitness industry, so I was like literally visualizing that, and that is an excellent descriptor to kind of encompass what it is that you do. So who would be your target market? Like, what type of people utilize a life coach?
I love working with anybody that's dedicated to their growth. They have a growth mindset. They understand that there's a famous Einstein quote that we can't fix the current problems of today that were created from the current mindset. We need a new way of thinking and a new way of approaching things. And so really anybody with a growth mindset and a desire to go deeper within themselves, and an understanding that we'll be growing for the rest of our lives. And so in terms of ideal clients, I love people who are movers and shakers, and who are looking to grow, who are looking to take ownership of their lives, and understand that they do need some support in that. They need time to reflect. They need someone to challenge their set divisive thinking on things, where things are black and white, and they're limiting all this possibility for themselves and for others. And so what that looks like specifically is somebody who's stuck in overthinking all the time. That's a perfect client. Somebody who goes round and around and around, and analysis for paralysis. That type of thinking isn't going to move them forward. So practically, and being able to apply it, I work with people on career changes. I work with people on deepening their experience of peace and happiness. I work with people on finding their passions, or finding a way to apply their passions, deepening relationships, finding relationships. So really just doing the authentic work of figuring out who they are, and increasing their self-love, and having the courage to take risks and continue to create a life with relationships that are meaningful.
That's interesting. So then my next question would be, well, what qualifies you to be a life coach too? I mean, that was a broad answer you gave. I mean, it sounds like you can help anyone from a CEO of a corporation to the soccer mom. I mean, that's a big gap there. Very, very broad audience. So what qualifies you to be a life coach, and what are the qualifications?
Yeah, great question. So I want to make a point to your broad, you're absolutely right. That's so broad. And notice how we love to, as a society, we love to compartmentalize. Like, I've had attorneys, what attorneys have you ever worked with attorneys? And I've had CPAs say, have you ever worked with CPAs? And inside I'm giggling, because it's like, we're all human beings. And I work at the core of what it means to be human. We all have fear. We all have dreams. We all have access to possibility. And that takes a while for people to really understand it, because we're so into putting ourselves into boxes. And I appreciate you pointing that out, because it's what's on everybody's minds. So now I'll answer your question. A lot like massage therapy was many years ago, anybody can put out a shingle and call themselves a coach, and they do. What I have done is I've had about 3.5 years of training through an accredited coach training program, Accomplishment Coaching. And they are accredited through the International Coach Federation, which is the governing body of coaches. So it's not required, but it upholds our professional standards in our industry. And it's our hope that at one point it will be required to, like, similar to massage therapists, have a license or have an accreditation.
So you're saying it's not required. So basically, like, I mean, if I want to say I'm a life coach, I could just like put my shingle out there and say, oh, yes, I've got 40 years of experience dealing with people in all walks of life, which is true. I do. I mean, coming from law enforcement, coming from investigations and coming from the fitness industry, but I
Yes.
don't know if I would be able to, to coach somebody into the right path for them, because I've never, I'm sure I've mentored people, I've given people advice, recommendations, suggestions based on specific topics, specific instances that I personally have been involved in, but I would never consider myself a life coach. So that's very interesting that there's really no governing body via a license, a certification, anything like that. So people really need to research and vet the person that they hire to make sure that they do have all the education, experience, training, skills, and so forth to do what you do.
It would be a good idea.
So you mentioned you have 3.5 years of training. And how many, what do you call them, clients?
Mm-hmm.
Would they be your client? How many clients have you assisted or guided through and helped in their situations?
That's a great question. Into the hundreds. I've been doing it for almost 10 years. So
Oh,
yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. And I used to work inside of a company doing leadership development work, taking people who lead others and helping them understand that not everybody behaves the way you behave, and not everybody is motivated by the things you are motivated by. So I used to work with leaders so that they can understand themselves better and learn how to flex their leadership towards other styles and other styles and types of people.
mhm.
And so yeah, and I used to teach coaches in training as well. So I've had a varied background.
So why would somebody need a life coach?
I think everybody could use a coach, and people usually utilize friends as coaches or therapists as coaches, or books as coaches. Um, it's an opportunity for somebody who isn't necessarily a friend or a family member, somebody who's objective, to really listen to what you're saying on a deeper level. What is really in your way is not usually the surface thing that comes out. So usually someone will say it's time or it's money. Those are very popular things to say about why they're not having the experience of life that they want. Um, I've come across two types of people in so far in my 10 years in this industry. And one is people who really are looking for clarity. There may be belief systems or stories about their past that is in the way of really trying something new. And so they're really looking for that clarity about who am I and what do I want and what will make me happy. The other type of people I come across are people who know exactly what they want. They know what to do to get there, but they don't know why they're not doing it or why they're not achieving the result. And those people typically attribute their lack of results to a character flaw, like I'm lazy or whatever, something that's degrading. And that's not usually the answer at all. It's usually something totally different that has nothing to do with a character flaw.
That's interesting. And how long does a client normally use your services? Like 6 months, a year, a couple years?
Mm-hmm.
What's the normal or customary time frame?
Yeah, I work with clients on a minimum of 6 months, just based on behavioral change and our studies being done about what it takes to actually become aware of a habit or a behavior, even if it's a paradigm, a way of thinking, and the ability to be able to change that in a sustainable, permanent way. So we lock in for 6 months, and after that, I do month to month with my clients. And my longest client is 8 years. And I've seen people, my minimum client's been 6 months. So it's whatever really works for the client and what their needs are. It's not certainly not something I want people to feel is a crutch of any sort. That's not the work I do. The work I do is to empower people to live powerful lives that they love and that they're excited and inspired by. And there's just some people that love learning, and they understand that just like an Olympic athlete, if they want to perform higher, they've got to grow and change. And maybe their profession or their spouse or something in their life requires more support.
And is it customary, would it be similar to if I went to a therapist, it's like 50 minutes every week, that's usually the time frame that you would meet with the therapist. And then as soon as that bell clicks, okay, the 50 minutes is up, we'll schedule, let's schedule for next week. What's the time frame that you meet with your clients? Is it once a week? Is it for an hour?
I meet with clients once a week, 3 times a month for an hour, and I do FaceTime or Zoom or phone. And that's really come in handy during this pandemic because I was already operating from that way. And then I have a small group that I meet with, about 5 people, same thing, 3 times a month. And then after that, I have clients that can go to every other week or once a month just for maintenance or checking in or getting some support or accountability.
And how much do services like this generally cost? Is it like a flat fee, or is it hourly, or?
For me, it's a flat fee, but I've seen it all over the map.
So,
something that's a little.
How much would something like this cost a person?
Anywhere from a couple of $100 a month to I don't know really what other people are charging except for the general research I've done, but it can be a couple of $1,000s a month.
Wow. And would you say more of your clients are female? Are they female versus male? Are they older versus younger? Or, do you have a certain demographic that likes you in particular because of the skill set that you have?
I would say most of my clients are between the age of 30 and 55. A lot of working professionals. I've had people on the other side of retirement just figuring out what they want to do next. But I think working professionals, or like you said earlier, moms, people who are giving all of their time to nurturing and supporting their families and aren't always so good at stopping and doing the self-care stuff. And not just the, getting your nails done and pampering self-care, but the deep self-care, the nourishment of their souls and their needs. So yeah, and I think women are attracted to the coaching profession. I tend to have more women than I have men, and I love working with the men that I have. I typically get clients through organizations or, people that are just out in the world that want to hire me. When my clients come through organizations, I find that I find more males that way, and they're fun to work with.
Wow, that's very interesting. Do you have any success stories that you can share? And I know, even though you're not bound by HIPAA, there's confidentiality between you and your clients. I would assume that as a professional, but in general, do you have a success story where you can talk about somebody who had, this issue and was able to work through with you and now is successful doing this?
Yeah, absolutely. Something I want to add to help explain the profession is different from therapy and consulting is we work in projects. So we do have SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, real in time, and timely goals, realistic and timely goals. So we work in project areas. So someone will come and we'll diagnose, what are you needing? What are you wanting? And we do deep dives in our calls, figuring out what's really in the way and what's going on. And then we always have action and action plans. So, something that will move the client forward in the direction that they want to go in. So in terms of success stories, I have to say the big one that I hear all the time is people will hire me usually for external results. They want to grow their business, or they, want to lose weight, or they want to find a partner, and they achieve all of those things. And there are times where someone will say, I really wasn't on that path for the right reasons. I was doing it out of fear. I was trying to prove that I could make this much money, or I was trying to prove I could be in a relationship. So a couple of examples of success stories are people realizing they were going after the wrong things for the wrong reasons, and getting on a path that really serves them. So specifically, a lot of people say that they experience more joy than they ever expected. Like they're finding that they have great lives or great relationships, or finding ways to connect with other people, or developing their self-esteem and their sense of self-love, or even their sense of compassion. And that's something I feel is really, really needed right now. We are so freaking hard on ourselves. And once we create an achievement or hit an achievement, most people will be like on to the next. They won't celebrate, they won't honor themselves, they won't restore and rest. And so there's a lot of that personal cohesion happening on these calls, where people are really getting a sense of peace and a sense of joy in their lives. And yes, all these other accomplishments, like finding relationships, leaving unhappy ones to find new ones, new job transitions. I had a client that was diabetic type 2 and was able to get off all their medication. So something happens when we start to align with ourselves and we get real with ourselves and what we really need and want. And so it's internal to external. And even though all those things on the outside look great, it matters a lot less of why you want them.
It sounds a lot like in the health and wellness industry, it's really changing the mindset, because a lot of times it seems like people really already have the skills necessary. They just don't know it. They don't realize it. And they're looking in this direction, when in fact, if you just look right here, everything that you need is right there for you. You just have to go after it.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, you know, really, like you said, coaching that person, just like a physical trainer, athlete, coaching an athlete to, you have everything it takes. I just got to show you how to get there and build up to it. So
yeah,
it's
absolutely
extremely interesting to be in this industry. Do you know about how many people there are like in this industry? How many, like maybe in California or?
I used to. And, you know, we do have the International Coach Federation, which is the governing body. There's just no laws on who can coach and who can't coach. So it's called ICF, or International Coach Federation, for anybody that's interested in the statistics. It's a wildly growing industry and has been for many, many years.
Okay. So any last words of thoughts that maybe you want to give out, maybe your information, as if somebody's interested, you know, how they would be able to contact you or get more information. And I could also put it in the show notes, you know, your website or whatever. But
Thank you. I would love that.
Is interested, you know, like it to me, it sounds so fascinating. Like I said, I've never talked to anybody that does this, and just have never asked the questions. Because I mean, really, truly, I always thought it was kind of like, oh, these must be like fluff people. And what I mean by that, like, yeah, there are people who, oh yeah, I can coach you, I can steer you in the right path, but really having no solid background, education, experience, training on it. So I've never really looked at a life coach in a very serious manner, I should say. And when your name came up, when Michael was telling me about you, I was like, oh, that would be so interesting. Here's a real life person that I can talk to that, yeah, you know, in a real honest way.
Yes.
About this industry and what you do and how you do it and what qualifies you and your success stories and so forth. But yeah, so any last words of wisdom for us?
Yeah. So thank you for saying that. And I would say if anybody is moved by this or curious, I'd be happy to have a conversation. I do complimentary 30-minute exploratory sessions with people who are interested. And I think you can tell by, you know, by my presence, not in this, not very salesy, and not in this to make millions. My heart and my desire is to let people know that they have resources. And even if I'm not the right resource for you, I would support anybody who has a desire to make their lives better and help them find the right resource. So please put my website up. It's www.steppingstonelifecoach.com. And then my email is Nicki, Nicki, at steppingstonelifecoach.com. So you can certainly share that. And last words of wisdom, I would say is, and I was thinking about this before I got on, if there was anything that I could just give as a gift, it's to have people really get and celebrate their incredible uniqueness and beauty. And really just, if you're listening, just close your eyes and go in and connect to that life force inside of you that exceeds and expands beyond personality and time and place and role and age and gender, all of it. Like just your being, your soul is amazing, amazing. And that you are perfect. You are perfectly imperfect. And all this external striving sometimes is at the, we do it to ourselves. So just really focusing in on the unique soul that you have and learning to love and enjoy that part of you.
Those are very, very inspirational words to people. So thank you so much. So I want to thank my guest, Nicki Gorini, for coming on my show. And I hope everyone is staying healthy. The world is starting to open up now, so thank goodness for that.
Thank you, God.
I know, I know it's been a long 2.5 months. So until the next episode, which will come out next week, I want everyone to stay positive, stay healthy, and stay safe. So thank you very much. Bye, Nicki.
Thank you, Lita. Bye-bye.
Take care.